Welcome. My name is Justina and I'm from Practices Academy. And today I'm going to guide you through the best way to prepare for your CIMA Operational Case Study exam. This exam is so different than what you've done before. It's so different to OT exams because it's not about ticking the box. It's just about knowing what you've learned and then applying that to the theory to the real business case scenario. So in this session, I'm going to walk you through the 3 essential steps to case study success, the common pitfalls to avoid, and how to ensure that you're fully prepared for your exam. I'm going to share with you as well what is, in my opinion, the best schedule, the weekly schedule for your exam preparation. So let's get started. Now, before we dive into how to prepare effectively, let's take a moment to understand what makes the OCS exam different from the objective tests that you've taken so far. Well, hopefully you've taken them. If not, because you may have been exempted or you may have followed the FLP's path. So let me just explain what's the difference. Okay. First of all, this is not just about memorization. So unlike OT exams, where you had to recall facts and choose the correct answer, in OCS, you need to apply what you've learned to the real business world situations. You've expected to think like a professional, not like a student. Okay? And that leads me to point number 2. You are playing a role. In this exam, you step into the shoes of a finance officer working for a company. You won't be answering an isolated question. You'll be responding to a realistic business task from your manager, from a colleague, or even an external stakeholder. So how does it work? In most cases, you are approached by your boss who comes to your desk or who writes you an email and asks you about a specific case. And he or she usually says something like, I've been approached by XYZ. We have this kind of situation, this problem. I have 45 minutes to respond. Please provide me an answer via email or write me a memo or a report or something and explain, I don't know, for example, advantages or disadvantages of this and that. But now you cannot just write advantages of ABC costing just like that, but you need to apply them to the current business that the company is in. So that just put yourself in the shoes of an examiner who is reading your answer. He needs to understand that you know what you're talking about, okay? So it's not only that you understand what is ABC costing, but you know what is ABC costing, you know what the business is about, and you can link those two. So this is all about the application, okay? Right. Point number 3. There is no single correct answer. So it's not like multiple choice questions where you had a clear right or wrong. Case study exams reward your ability to justify your recommendations. Your reasoning and explanation are just as important as your final answer. So, for example, you may write something that is, I don't know, maybe completely illogical. However, if you justify it in a proper way, you may get a point or few. So it's not like, oh, I completely messed up because I wrote a wrong response for this one. No, if you say, I think it should be this and that, and this is why, it's just like in business. There is risk to every path, and you need to justify why you think going this way is better than going that way. Okay, the next point. You must write structured responses. Instead of picking A, B, C, D, you'll need to explain your thought process clearly and concisely. So your answers should be well structured, logical, and written in a professional business style. Now, what does it mean for your preparation? It means that you simply cannot just revise theory, because that's not enough. You need to focus on applying your theory, writing in a structured way, and thinking critically about the scenarios you've given. This shift in approach is what makes OCS exam challenging, but it's also what makes it incredibly valuable in preparing you for the real-world finance roles. Now, let's look at the 3 key steps that will help you prepare effectively for this exam. Now that we know how the OCS exam is different, let's talk about how you can prepare effectively. From my experience, students who succeed in this exam focus on 3 key areas. Step number 1 that I've mentioned already a few times here: apply knowledge, don't just memorize. In the OCS exam, simply knowing the theory won't be enough. The examiner wants to see how well you can use the knowledge from E1, P1, and F1 in the real-world business situations. You'll need to interpret data, evaluate risks, and make recommendations, just like a real finance officer. Step number 2. Use the pre-scene wisely. Your pre-scene document is a goldmine of information, but only if you analyze it properly. It sets the stage for your exam, giving you insights into the company's business model, the industry, challenges and opportunities. The better you understand the pre-scene, the easier it will be to anticipate what the examiner might ask of you. Now, step number 3. Practice writing early. Finally, your exam success will depend heavily on how well you can write structured, professional responses under time pressure. Many students wait way too long, and I can see that from the point of view of a person who is selling packages, that many students wait way too long to start writing practice. And that's a huge mistake. Your ability to explain your reasoning clearly and concisely is just as important as knowing the content itself. These 3 steps form the foundation of a strong case study preparation strategy. Now, let's go deeper into step 1, how to apply your technical knowledge the right way. The operational case study exam isn't about recalling theory. It's about applying your knowledge to real business challenges. This means understanding how P1, F1, and E1 work together in a practical setting. However, not all subjects are weighted equally in this exam. P1, management accounting, and F1, financial reporting, carry the most weight, while E1, managing finance in a digital world, plays a supporting role by providing business context. So let's go through them in the correct order. P1, management accounting, is the key to decision making. P1 is the most important subject in this case study exam because your role as a finance officer involves helping the company make better financial decisions. This means topics like costing, budgeting, risk management, and performance evaluation will appear frequently in your tasks. And here are the commonly tested areas. So you can be tested on how should the company manage and control its costs effectively? Or you can hear the question like, which budgeting approach is more suitable for this company? Or what do budget variations tell us about this company's performance? Or what financial risks does the company face and how can they be managed? Should the company invest in a new project? And how do we assess feasibility? Example task could be, the company is experiencing rising production costs. Your manager has asked you to assess potential cost-saving measures. What factors could you consider? In this case, you'll need to apply P1 knowledge, evaluating costing methods, budgeting constraints, and risk factors to provide practical recommendations. Now let's move to F1, financial reporting, which is all about understanding the numbers. F1 is also heavily tested, but instead of making decisions, it focuses on interpreting financial statements and understanding how financial information is used in decision making. So here are the commonly tested areas. What do financial statements reveal about company performance? How should certain transactions be accounted for? How does working capital management impact cash flow? What ethical or regulatory issues may arise in financial reporting? How should financial decisions, meaning debt versus equity, be approached? An example task could look like, your manager has asked you to review the company's cash flow statement, which shows declining cash reserves. What factors should you investigate and what recommendations can you make? Here, the examiner is testing whether you understand how to interpret financial statements, assess liquidity and cash flow issues, and suggest practical financial solutions. And now let's move to E1, managing finance in digital world. which is all about the business context. Unlike P1 and F1, E1 isn't tested heavily in calculations, but it provides essential business context for your answers. The examiner will expect you to demonstrate an understanding of how finance interacts with the rest of the business, particularly in all areas like operations, technology, and organizational structure. So here are the commonly tested areas. How does the business model work? How does the company manage its operations, meaning supply chain, HR, IT systems? How do external factors like competition, regulation, economy impact decision-making? How does organizational structure affect efficiency and communication? How does digital finance, meaning automation or AI, impact the finance function? An example task could look like the company is implementing a new automated accounting system. Your manager has asked you to assess the operational benefits and risks. What factors should you consider? While this isn't the core focus of your exam, having a strong understanding of E1 will help you frame your answers in business-relevant way. Now that we've covered how to apply technical knowledge, let's talk about step number 2, using the pre-seen document effectively. For many of you, this is the first case study exam, so let's start with a key point. What is the difference between the pre-seen and unseen information? So the pre-seen information is basically this pre-seen document that CIMA releases around 7 weeks before the exam, twice a year, and is valid for 2 sessions. It gives you the details about the company, about its market, its financials, and its risks. That means you have to study it in advance and come to the exam prepared with insights. The unseen information is what you receive on the day of the exam. This is where the scenario develops. You might get a request from the manager, a financial issue may arise, or a competitor could enter the market. Many students skim through the pre-seen once and forget about it, and that is a big mistake. Instead, you should study it in detail and think about what are the company's strengths and weaknesses? What does the company do well? Where could there be financial, operational, or competitive risks? What are the company's key products and markets? Who are its customers? Is it focused on a niche, or does it have a very broad market? What industry challenges could impact the company? Is the company exposed to regulatory risks, economic downturns, or supply chain problems? Are there any recent trends in the sector that the examiners might bring up? By asking these questions, as you study the pre-seen, you'll start to see patterns and predict what kind of issues may come up in the exam. A big advantage of using the pre-seen well is that you can anticipate the type of tasks you'll be asked in the exam. For example, if the pre-seen mentions that the company has big debt levels, you might be asked to evaluate how to improve cash flow or restructure financing. If the pre-seen highlights a reliance on one key supplier, a question could ask you to assess a risk of supply chain disruption. If a company is expanding internationally, you might need to analyze financial risks, such as foreign exchange exposure. Instead of waiting until the exam day to figure things out, you should already be thinking about these possible scenarios in advance. One way to impress examiners is by linking your answers to real-world business trends. Why does this matter? Because examiners, they want to see that you understand the wider business environment, not just the case study. Companies don't operate in isolation. They have competition, there is technology and regulations. All impact decision-making. For example, if your case study company is a retailer, mentioning trends like e-commerce growth, changing consumer behavior, or sustainability concerns shows that you have commercial awareness. How do you find this information? Read the industry section of the pre-seen carefully. Think about the current trends in the sector. Consider what challenges similar real-world companies are facing. The pre-seen is your advantage, so use it wisely. Think ahead. Predict what examiner questions could be based on the company's situation. The better you understand the pre-seen, the easier it will be to respond quickly and effectively in the exam. Now, let's move on to step 3, writing answers that get marks. Now let's talk about step 3, writing answers that get marks. Many students lose marks not because they don't know the content, but because they don't structure the answers correctly. This slide shows you a clear example of how structure affects your score. On the left side, in red, you have an answer that failed. This was taken from the CIMA website. The student mentioned some relevant concepts, but they don't fully address the task requirement. Instead of focusing on what was actually asked, they wrote about something only slightly relevant, which means lost marks. What's the difference? It directly answered the specific question asked, it applied knowledge to the case study instead of just explaining theory, it justified the recommendations with logical reasoning, and it well structured with clear headings and bullet points. This is why structure matters in your exam. If you write a long, unfocused response, you risk losing marks, even if you mention some correct points. So, how to avoid this mistake? Read the requirements carefully. Before you start writing, read the task at least twice. Many students rush into answering without fully understanding what's being asked. For example, if the task says, explain the risks and recommend actions, you must do both. If you only explain the risks, but you don't suggest actions, you won't get full marks. Justify your points. It's not enough to just list recommendations. You must explain why your suggestion makes sense. For example, instead of saying the company should improve its cash flow, a stronger answer would be the company should negotiate longer payment terms with suppliers to improve short-term cash flow, reducing the need for external financing. The second version justifies the recommendation. That is what gets you higher marks. Stick to the role given. Remember, you are writing as a finance officer, not a student. Your tone should be clear, professional, and concise. You can use bullet points, however, headings and a paragraph text is more recommended because it's just easier to read. Remember, examiners are human beings. They like things that are clear and easy to read. So final thoughts on writing for marks. Structure your response properly. Don't just write everything you know. Read the question carefully and answer all parts of it. Justify your points. Don't just list theory. Explain how it applies. Write clearly and professionally. Make it easy for the examiner to follow. If you follow these steps, you'll avoid the mistakes shown in the red column and write answers like those that are shown on the green column, which is what examiners actually want to see. Now, let's move on to why mock exams are the game changer in your preparation. Now let's talk about one of the biggest game changers in your exam preparation, mocks and even more mocks. If you want to improve your performance, nothing is more effective than practicing full mock exams. This slide highlights the key mock taking tips that will help you get the most out of your practice. Start early. Don't wait until the last week. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that students make, is that they are waiting too long to take their first mock. And I can tell you that from the experience, our course is scheduled to have 7 weeks, and we invite students to start submitting their mocks from the week number 3. And it hardly ever happens. Usually we start to receive mocks from the week 5, which is way too late. Why is this a problem? Because mocks reveal your weaknesses. And if you take them too late, you won't have enough time to fix those weaknesses. So best practice is that you attempt your first full mock at least 3-4 weeks before the exam and use mocks to identify gaps in your knowledge and writing skills. Simulate real exam conditions. Taking a mock without timing yourself isn't good enough. You must train under real exam conditions. Stick to the 3-hour time limit. No pausing, no distractions. Write your answers on the computer, just like in the actual exam. And avoid checking notes. Force yourself to recall and apply knowledge. Why is this important? Many students struggle with time management during the exam. If you don't practice writing full answers under pressure, you might run out of time on the exam day. Review your mistakes. Don't just take mocks. Analyze them. Taking mocks without reviewing them is a wasted opportunity. After each mock, go through your answers carefully. Compare them against the model answers. Where did you lose marks? Were you too vague? Did you go off topic? Did you miss part of the task? So best practice is that you keep a mistake tracker. Note down common errors so that you can avoid them in the next mock. Look for patterns. Are you consistently weak in a certain area, like budgeting or financial analysis? If you don't learn from your mistakes, you'll keep making them in the real exam. Practice writing, not just thinking. Many students read model answers and think, okay, I understand this, but understanding is not enough. You need to train yourself to write answers from scratch. Think of it like driving a car. Reading about how you drive a car won't make you a good driver. You have to get behind the wheel. Similarly, reading model answers won't make you good at structuring responses. You need to actually write your own answers. And get feedback. Self-marking helps, but expert feedback is invaluable. Marking your own mocks is useful, of course, but it's not enough. You need an objective view from someone who understands what examiners are looking for. Why is mock marking so valuable? A tutor can spot patterns in your mistakes that you might not notice. They'll help you refine your writing style and improve your structure. You'll get clear, personalized feedback on where to improve. And this brings me to an important point, mock marking, and why it's such a crucial part of the exam preparation. By now, you know that mock exams are one of the best ways to prepare. But what if you are making mistakes without realizing it? That's where mock marking comes in. Many students assume they are writing strong answers, but without an expert review, an expert opinion, it's hard to be sure. Tutor marking helps you fine-tune your approach, catch small but costly mistakes, and refine your structure before the exam day. This slide shows why tutor feedback is so useful. What tutor marking adds to your preparation? A tutor can spot mistakes you might overlook, things like missing key parts of tasks, not applying knowledge properly, or structuring answers inefficiently. You'll get insights on how to improve, not just a score, but clear guidance on how to make your answers stronger. It helps you think like an examiner, so you start writing in the style that earns marks. It's a reality check before the exam. Instead of waiting until the result day to realize what went wrong, you'll have time to fix things in advance. We actually created packages that include mock markings already inside. So for example, our advanced package includes already one mock that is marked. Master package includes 3 mocks, and ultimate package includes 5 marking services. Mock marking is not compulsory, but if you want an objective expert review of your answers, it's one of the fastest ways to improve your technique. Now, let's talk about one-on-one tutoring, when and why it's worth considering. And of course, if you are not on a budget, the fastest way to improve your case study performance is one-on-one tutoring. While self-study and mocks are really great tools, sometimes you just need this personalized feedback to refine your approach, fix recurring mistakes, and just build your confidence before the exam day. So why is it so effective? First of all, it's tailored feedback. Unlike general study resources, one-on-one sessions focus specifically on your strengths and weaknesses. And it's faster improvement. A tutor can pinpoint issues very quickly, helping you fix mistakes much faster. And it's also human interactions. Think of it like having a personal trainer for your exam preparation. Coaching leads to faster results. And how to access this one-on-one coaching? We have a package called Ultimate Package, which is the highest package that we have. And it includes 3 personal tutoring sessions. Or you can get an extra add-on if you have other packages. One-on-one support isn't necessary for everyone. But if you're struggling with exam technique or just want that extra level of confidence, it can be a great investment in your success. So here are the final thoughts on personal tutoring. It's highly personalized and efficient. It's focusing only on what you need. It helps you master exam technique quickly. And it's great for students who want that extra support beyond self-study. So, you've done the hard work. Now it's time to maximize your exam readiness in the final week. At this stage, it's not about learning new content. It's about refining your technique, practicing under exam conditions, and first and foremost, boosting your confidence. This slide highlights the key focus areas to make the most of your final week before the exam. Revise industry trends. Examiners just love when students connect their answer to the real-world business trends. Go beyond the pre-scene. Think about what's happening in this industry. How do real companies deal with similar challenges? Are there current events that could impact this business? Do timed mocks. If you haven't already, which I would advise you that you have, but if you haven't, then this is the time to start doing full mocks under real exam conditions. Set a timer, remove distractions, and complete a full 3-hour mock. Why? You'll get used to writing under time pressure. It helps you identify where you're spending too much time. You'll get more confident on the exam day because it will be something that you are used to. Get feedback on at least one mock. If possible, get at least one of your mocks marked by a tutor. This is your chance to catch any last-minute mistakes and refine your technique. If mock marking isn't really an option, then try to compare your answers to model solutions or ask your maybe study buddy to review your mocks and give feedback. Look for patterns in your mistakes. Are you losing marks for structure, application, or maybe you are just missing some points? And review ethics. And remember, ethics appears almost on every exam, so please don't overlook it. Refresh your understanding of the CIMA Code of Ethics, which is integrity, objectivity, professional competence, confidentiality, and professional behavior. Many students assume that ethics is easy and they just don't need to prepare for it, but there's just an opportunity for easy marks if you are ready for it. So to sum it up, focus on strategy, not just on knowledge. Simulate real exam conditions to reduce stress, and the final round of feedback can make a big difference. By following these steps, you'll walk into the exam feeling ready and confident. To make your OCS preparation as structured and effective as possible, we've broken it down into a step-by-step weekly plan. Instead of cramming everything at once, this approach ensures you build up your skills gradually, starting with understanding the case study format, then diving into technical knowledge, and finally focusing on mock exams and final revision. Let's go through what you should be focusing on each week. Week 1 and 2. Understanding the case study format and pre-scene analysis. Your first 2 weeks should be about getting familiar with the case study approach and analyzing the pre-scene document. Learn how case study exams work. They are all very different from the OT exams. Go through the pre-scene document carefully, understand the company, its industry, and the competitive landscape. Conduct an industry analysis. Look at trends that might impact the business. Identify potential risks, challenges, and opportunities. This will help you anticipate likely exam topics. Week 3. Pre-scene analysis from the P1 perspective, plus writing practice. Now, shift your focus to performance management and how it applies to the case study. Analyze the pre-scene document through a costing, budgeting, and risk management perspective. Consider performance measurement techniques that may be tested. Begin structured writing practice. Start answering our mini tasks based on P1 topics. Then let's move to week 4. Pre-scene analysis from the F1 perspective plus writing practice. This week, you'll focus on financial reporting, F1, and how it applies to decision making in the case study. Look at financial statements, key ratios, and financial reporting standards. Identify how financial data is used for decision-making and business planning. Continue refining your writing skills. Apply F1 concepts to the pre-scene-based questions. Week 5. Pre-scene analysis from the E1 perspective plus writing practice. Next, review the pre-scene from the enterprise perspective, focusing on how the business operates. Consider the company's business model, strategy, and operations. Think about the role of people, leadership, and change management in the business success. Keep practicing writing structured responses incorporating E1 concepts. Week 6, mocks and mocks marking. By this point, you should be shifting your focus to full exam style practice. Attempt full-length mock exams under real exam conditions. Stick to the time limit. If possible, get at least one mock professionally marked. This is where you get valuable insights on what to improve. View feedback from your practice and refine your writing technique. And in week 7, final revision and confidence boost. The final week is about fine-tuning your approach and boosting confidence before the exam day. Review key ethical principles. Ethics is almost always tested. Go over any common mistakes from your mocks and make final adjustments. Do the last timed mocks if possible, just to get into the right exam mindset. Each week builds on the last, so you'll always be making progress. Pre-scene analysis and technical knowledge go hand in hand. Focus on both. Mocks and feedback in the final weeks will give you the best chance of success. Now let's go over which study plan will help you achieve this plan most effectively. We've just gone through the best way to prepare for your OCS exam, and our 7-week plan follows this exact approach, step by step, making sure you build your knowledge, practice writing, and refine your exam technique. Now, if you want a structured, well-organized way to prepare, you don't have to do it alone. Our study packages give you everything you need. Let's take a quick look what's included. Our essential package is the best starting point if you want to cover the basics. You'll get a full pre-scene analysis to cover the exam scenario with theory revisions to refresh your key technical knowledge. You also get 15 writing tasks and 3 mocks to get your practice started. If you want more practice and expert insight, advanced package is just for you. You'll get everything in the essential package, what I just mentioned, and on top of that you have extra 2 mocks to practice, so 5 mocks in total. And on top of that you have 1 mock marking service, so you can get tutor feedback on structure and approach. And starting from advanced packages, we add a top pre-scene issue video analysis, so that's helping you to focus on what's likely to come in your exam. Now in a master package, it's our most popular package for students who want to have a well-rounded study plan with past CIMA exam insights. So here, you will get everything that I've mentioned before. On top of that, you have an extra mock, so you will have 6 in total. We provide 3 marking services and a repository of past CIMA exam questions split by topic, which is an absolute treasure because CIMA often repeats key topics, just changing the case study company. With this, you'll see exactly how examiners expect you to answer questions based on previous sittings. And I've seen that already with tuition providers, and they resell that basically repository just for the price of our whole package. So I think that's a steal. An ultimate package is the most comprehensive package with maximum practice and personal guidance. Here you get everything that I just mentioned before. On top of that, you have an extra mock, so you have 7 mocks to practice in total. You get 5 mock marking services. And on top of that, you have 3 personal one-on-one lessons with our tutor. So it's ideal if you want focused coaching on your exam technique. If you would like to see how our platform works, we offer a free package where you can try out some of our study materials. Just head out to practicetestacademy.com/OCS and sign up. The OCS exam is all about preparation. With the right plan, mock practice and expert guidance, you'll be ready to walk into the exam feeling confident. So, choose the package that suits you best, get started today, and pass your OCS exam on the first attempt. Thank you for listening and good luck!